there's all these stories about, guys over in Macedonia who are running these fake news sites.
Number 24 is content farms in Macedonia.
Бидејќи ако се направи грешка, таа ќе биде кобна. Нема враќање назад.
So Europe need to remain more sexy lady in the world. Ajde, majkata!
Господа ја чува Македонија и низините граѓани.
Bulgaria has elections for the 50th time in 2 years. Actually, it's only the 5th time in 2 years, but it might as well be 50, given that this most recent election will likely lead to another election. And yet, the Bulgarian government, no matter how many interim governments they have, still acts like a bully and a child simultaneously, telling Macedonia that they, Bulgaria, should be consulted on any constitutional changes that Macedonia makes, and that if they, Bulgaria, don't get their way, well, they'll just reimpose their little veto. Meanwhile, VMRO agrees that perhaps the Croatian constitution model might work after all. In the Croatian constitution, Croatia is the nation-state of the Croatians, and they also have various other ethnic minorities. After all, Prime Minister Kovačevski and Foreign Minister Osmani have in the past mentioned the Croatian model as acceptable. In other news, Artan Grubi of Dewey not only is raking in money off the no-bid infrastructure project with Bechtel, but is now into gambling in casinos with Austrian gambling giant HTL, while literally shootouts continue in parts of Skopje mainly inhabited by ethnic Albanians. We'll discuss all of this and more on this episode of the Macedonian Content Farmers Podcast. I'm Jason Miko, coming to you from the foot of the Catalina Mountains in Oro Valley, Arizona.
And this is Cvetin in one of the safer neighborhoods in Skopje, Macedonia.
I noticed the... We'll talk about the Bulgarian elections in just a second, but I did notice that the latest shootout amongst Albanians was, I think, over the issue of bread at a bakery and breaking fast during Ramadan, I believe.
Yeah, they get grumpy, don't eat all day. That's the model of the Ramadan fast. And then you wait for night to fall and then you start eating. And there was some fighting over who gets to order first in the local bakery as night was falling. And they pulled pistols and... Few of them got injured.
I mean, look, I think it's human nature. I get grumpy if I don't eat,
Yeah.
That's kind of the way it works. So anyway,
or you don't get your coffee.
Or I don't get my coffee, exactly. Yeah, or my my mastika in the afternoon. So,
this was not a gang incident like the previous few, but which we had. But it's still like indicative of state of affairs here.
Yeah. Well, we should mention today is Saturday, April 8, and this is episode 154 of the Macedonian Content Farmers Podcast. So Bulgaria had elections just a little, less than a week ago on April 2nd, Sunday. Mm-hmm. This was actually the 5th election in 2.5 years or something like that. And from the looks of it, it seems that they will, once they actually have a quote-unquote government, it'll be unstable like the others, and it'll fall apart. I think Israel and Bulgaria are competing for nations to have the most elections in the smallest amount of time. Mm-hmm. I think Israel's had 4 or 5 elections as well. Bibi's in charge there. But so Bulgaria, so it's Grb, our old friend Boyko Borisov came out on top this time, followed by Kirill Petkov, and we continue to change. What are the other parties? There's a pro-Russia party, Revival, I believe.
Yeah, that's the New Nationalist Party.
New Nationalist Party. Then, of course, what's the funky party by what's his name? The
Turkish
actor.
The ITN Ima Takov Narod. That's the what was his name? Slavi.
We continue to change. Slavi Trifonov.
Slavi Trifonov. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So.
They just narrowly squeaked in. They won one of the earlier elections, and now they're barely making it in the parliament.
Right. For our listeners that maybe some Americans, in a parliamentary system, you have to clear a threshold of X percent in the election to be able to get seats in parliament. So, but it doesn't matter how you slice and dice it. It doesn't matter who actually forms a government. The Bulgarians are going to continue with their position towards Macedonia, which is Macedonia must change the constitution, and And then perhaps, maybe, if we wake up on the right side of the bed, then you can start your EU accession process. And this past week, it was the interim. Yeah, I guess we have to say for each and every member of the Bulgarian government, you have to put the word interim in front of their title because they're technically interim. The interim foreign minister said that Bulgaria should be consulted on changes that the Macedonian government makes to the Macedonian constitution. And then I did see that Stevo Pendarovski came out and said, "You're barking mad."
Yeah.
And Osmani actually said no, and then the Bulgarians, I think, pedaled back. Do I have that right in that order?
I did not see them pedaling back, honestly, but it's questionable how much influence this foreign minister has. But I didn't really see them pedaling back. But Pendarovski was very strict. He used the terms of this is like something that an occupier does to an occupied country.
Right.
But in reality, he agreed to the terms. We're practically, we know that the government, the president, they all first rejected the Bulgarian demands that we amend the constitution and include the Bulgarian nation in the preamble. Then they accepted these demands after Kovachevsky was invited to the USS Harry Truman for a meeting. And, it doesn't change things much whether a Bulgarian expert is directly included in the commission that would discuss this, or if it's just, they say these are our demands and you better meet them. We have pre-written articles for the other ethnic groups. So the preamble of the constitution is an ungodly mess. It says, first of all, it says the citizens of Macedonia. This was inserted by SDSM after the Colored Revolution in a civic stage, in the civic stage they were in the citizens of the world stage. Then it says the Macedonian people, I think it has a capitalized letter, M, even though it's grammatically incorrect to make us look more important. Then it names the other peoples in Macedonia, the Albanians, the Serbs, the Bosniaks, blah, blah, blah. And it would just, be like Albanians, Serbs, Bosniaks, Roma, and probably, the latest additions would be the Bulgarians, and then the Croats, the Montenegrins are also like applying to join. Maybe the Jews, maybe the Muslim Macedonians. This is a bit controversial, but this is like a written segment, so there is nothing to negotiate. There's nothing to debate. It's like you just insert my name here. But now that the Bulgarians said that we want a commission, to join the commission, and the government says we'll have a commission, there's really no need to have a commission. There is like a technical matter. But now that they're discussing about a commission, it's possible that they might have something more complex in mind. And so far the Bulgarians are not saying this, at least not this interim government, but they are not that important anyway. So it's possible that the next government might say we have a special role in Macedonia. We have, this complicated situation where the Macedonians, we believe, used to be Bulgarians. So you can't just mention us with the others. You have to rewrite the part where it says the Macedonian nation, which used to be the Bulgarian nation, or something like that. The Macedonian language, which derives from the Bulgarian language, where it's mentioned. The Macedonian Orthodox Church, which originated as a Bulgarian church. They can be creative in all sorts of ways. So yeah, this is one of the funny elements that are happening with the constitution, and the other obviously is VMRO, the VMRO proposal.
Right. So let's talk about that, the VMRO proposal. So it's they're now accepting the Croatian model, which Kovachevsky and Osmani had mentioned within the past year. The Croatian model says that Croatia is a nation state of the Croatians, Croatian people, I'm not sure exactly how it reads, and then other ethnic minorities.
Yeah. We had that model. Initially, Macedonia was the Macedonian nation state, and then after the war with the Albanians in 2001, we had the Macedonian nation and the parts of the nations of the Albanians, the Serbs, the Turks who live here. This was the formula. And then it was, as I said, further diluted after the Colored Revolution with the citizens, and then the Macedonian nation, and then the parts of the nations. But the Croats, they have one huge minority like we do. Like they had the Serbs, we had the Albanians, they had the war with the Serbs, we had the war with the Albanians. But the Croats won their war. They practically expelled the Serbs after several years of fighting in the Yugoslav army. And it's in their interest to have everybody and their grandmother in the constitution. So it's not like the Croats and the Serbs and then like 5 empty spaces and then others. So they put the Serbs, they lumped the Serbs in with like 15 other minorities, and they included the Macedonians to dilute the importance of being mentioned as a minority. But our government, after they were persuaded to accept the Bulgarian demands, they started saying, look how open-minded and tolerant Croatia is. They have like 15 minorities. Why can't we be like the Croats? They have the Macedonians. We should include the Croats in our constitution since they have included us. And by the way, we should sneak in the Bulgarians as well once we're doing this. So this was their pitch. But then VMRO are prone to this very too clever by half. Like, how did they come up with this? I can't believe they thought of this idea that usually doesn't work. But this is interesting. I mean, this takes the pressure off of them and puts it on the Albanians. They say, okay, we've been losing all this, making all these ethnic concessions with the name, the language, the coat of arms, everything. Why can't we gain something for once as a Macedonian nation? And plus it will unblock the process, and plus you proposed it. So our proposal is we will vote for, the Albanians and SDSM are very loud that we are blocking the process, that we are delaying everybody's common future in Europe. Okay, fine. We will vote for this. We will vote for the Bulgarians. But you give us, the Macedonians are now the first among the equal nations. Let's strengthen the article. Let's say Macedonia is the nation state of the Macedonians with full respect of minority rights for Albanians. And obviously the Albanian parties are rejecting this immediately. But this helps VMRO say, okay, we are not blocking the process now. We made a proposal. We are accepting their proposal. Now the Albanians are blocking the process. Incidentally, one of the Albanian parties, the one which was like more moderate, friendly to VMRO, which the Alliance of Albanians, which joined the government and is now very angrily opposed to VMRO, they said, okay, we don't want the Croatian model. We can look into the Swiss or the Belgian model. So now they're openly proposing partition of Macedonia into ethnic cantons or ethnic federal units. So this was their response.
Right. That's Arben Tavari?
Taravari, yes.
Taravari, right, yeah. So the negotiating process of the government of Sudas and Dewey is you accept everything we say, we accept nothing you say, end of story. If you don't, you are against the quote-unquote European process or the Europeanization of Macedonia, blah, 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 blah. And that's their position. And that also happens to be the position of the diplomatic corps in Macedonia as well, is the best way to negotiate is you peasants, upon whom we enlightened globalist diplomats, and especially the U.S. State Department on Kale, which pisses on the peasants from great heights. You peasants must accept Citizen Dewey's position, and you get nothing in return, and you will take it, and you will like it, and after you take it, you'll say, please, sir, may I have another?
They have all these internationals coming, like the German foreign minister, the Croatian president, funnily enough. He was asked, okay, why can't we have the Croatian model? Well, no, you should have something, but, like, for yourselves. I mean, they can't support VMRO on this, but it's it's a funny move by VMRO to stick it to them in this fashion. But they come and the government was telling VMRO, we'll buy practically some of your voters like we did last time, you will cave. But now they're apparently not able to make it happen, and they're getting pretty nervous, and now VMRO with this proposal even outmaneuvered them for once, and it's fun
Nice.
season here. Yeah.
That is good to see. And just on the note on the timeline, again, where this is early April, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, these need to be made, these changes need to be made by the fall, I think. Is that correct?
Yeah, sometime in November, Albania will overtake us. Now we are both in some pre-accession level with the EU. And if we do not have a deal then by November, then Albania will be ahead of us. They may be allowed to open accession talks, maybe they won't be, who knows. But then let's see what the Bulgarians want. Now there is a chance that, so the elections in Bulgaria are split. So Gerb and they have now for the first time ever this American Democratic Party style movement of citizens, urban voters. All of Sofia voted for them. The more urban parts of Sofia voted with a 2-1 margin for this party. The PP party and the DB party, Продължаваме промените, we continue the change, and the Democratic Bulgaria party. So they are evenly split in the elections. None of them, they have 70 votes, and you need 121 to form a government. So they can either join forces together, and this is being mentioned, or it's possible that these two parties will split because they just formed a coalition recently. Because it's very unpalatable for them. They tried to arrest Borisov, the Gerb leader, and now they will be forced to form a coalition with him. It's very SDSM forming coalition with VMRO after the wiretapping and the colored revolution. That would be, for them, they were riding high, and that would be unacceptable to them. So now the Gerb party mentioned, okay, but listen, we can also, the talks can include even this super-nationalist party, which practically united all the nationalist parties, the Возрождение, the Resurrection Party, for which all the super-nationalists from the old Karakachanov, VMRO, and all the other parties that used to cause so much grief to Macedonia voted for. So if they join the coalition, maybe an outside partner, like in Sweden, like a nationalist party, not allowed in the government, but an outside partner. This, we could have a very ridiculous situation in Macedonia. With the demands would be, their opening bid is that Macedonia is the second Bulgarian state. That's their opening position.
Oh, all right. Let's pivot back to what we started with, kind of on these the shootouts and the gunfights, and gosh, it's just rampant crime, especially it seems like in the a lot of the ethnic Albanian communities. We started with the kind of the hungry ones, and how that makes people a little bit trigger happy. But there have been some major shootouts, brazen major shootouts in cafes, I believe in Chire, correct?
So one was in near the fortress, near Goca Delchev's grave, practically, in a shisha bar there.
Right.
One was in a very posh, expensive, safe part, Macedonian part of Skopje, where several Albanians were gambling in a casino, and this is becoming a huge deal. We have these casinos everywhere now. We had the Austrian president came to Macedonia. The green, electric scooter or public transport using distinguished president of Austria. And because it's an Austrian company investing in this, you remember all these links between Johannes
Falkentak-Guzan, yes.
yeah, and Mialkov and the casinos across Macedonia and all of that. So Austria is telling us you cannot adopt a law that would remove the casinos, which are literally everywhere. We have them like Starbucks. You stand at one, and then you can see two on both sides of the street, like in opposite directions. You can see two more. Like they're mushrooming across Skopje and the other cities. And Austria tells us you cannot close them. This is our investment. You cannot touch them. The law would remove them from schools to no less than 500 meters from a school, so you do not impress it upon children that gambling is okay. So we're having this situation. We have the Albanian party, which you mentioned. They wanted to have the state lottery split into like an Albanian and a Macedonian lottery, and they run one. But then eventually they decided to form a separate company with an Austrian, the Novomatic, the Austrian giant, gambling giant. So now the Albanians are taking over part of this business. So the other shootout was in a casino in Karpoj. We currently have like a village after Arachinovo, which is one of the drug hubs around Skopje. Grčac is the other one. Arachinovo is on the east. Grčac is on the west toward the Matka Lake, the Matka Gorge. They are now not paying electricity. They're kicking out the people who come to, the bill collectors. So now a significant portion of the Albanian villages, large villages west of Skopje, are without electricity because the power company cut them off because the collection is like 10%. Like one token family in the village pays electricity, so you cannot cut off the entire village. You have to keep supplying the village because of this one family, and then the other families won't let you come near their house and cut them off individually, so you're stuck. So the company has to pretend that they have a defect, and they did this, so the villagers stormed like the power relay station, tried to connect it themselves, didn't know how to do it, and then a good portion of the west of Skopje is without electricity because of this. So yeah, shootouts, general lawlessness. The police was pressed to show that they're doing something. So what they did was, we had a very depressing story I put on Twitter with the U.S. ambassador today, who was tweeting about the LGBT situation in Macedonia. We had two Albanian girls from elementary school, one younger, one older. The older one invited the younger one to flee the school, and the older one is like buzz cut, like more fashionable girl. So everybody is talking in the Albanian community that she was seducing the younger one, that they're lesbians and stuff, and they were away from home for several days. So our police can do nothing about the actual criminals, but these girls, somebody finds them, reports them to the police. So the police, they want to show that they're doing something to fight crime and that they're active in the Albanian neighborhood and they're doing their job. So they post a picture of the girls in the back of the car like criminals. And Albanian journalists, people who follow Albanian media, they're saying, you won't believe how many comments are there on social media that the parents, the fathers, should beat up the girls so beat them straight, right? That they brought shame on the families. So it's, even when the police is trying to do something, this is the result we get. So it's a complete disaster. In between, drug gangs and repression of the girls and the vulnerable minorities to threats of secession by the recently included coalition member of the government threatening secession. So it's, it's a very, very hard situation in the country.
A couple of comments on that. That was a good good discourse there. The one in Karpaj, was that near Beverly Hills? I saw pictures of it. It looked, which is, that's right in the middle of Skopje, basically.
Mlečan restaurant next to BKW where we had the...
I noticed the U.S. ambassador, Aguilar, she's now, I don't know in the past, so I saw her tweet, LGBTQI+. So I think she's missing a couple of letters there. I'm not sure which ones anymore. But yeah, so yeah, a lot of comments on that. But yeah, to your point about the police not being able to, or not being willing to, that's Oliver Spasovsky, of course, is not willing to crack down on actual criminals because they're protected by Dewey, which is protected by the State Department. Meanwhile, you've got this proliferation of gambling joints in Macedonia. I mean, it's sad. I mean, I think I mentioned this in a previous podcast recently, that one of my favorite little bakeries all of a sudden disappeared, and now it's a casino. And I don't know who goes into these things. I will admit, once early on, it was probably in 1996 when I was there, I went with some friends to the what was the Holiday Inn before it became the Holiday Inn? Was it the Grand Hotel?
Grand Hotel.
There was a casino there, but it was part of a hotel, which is common and throughout the world, especially Europe. But I've never ever walked into one of these ones that you just see on every street corner. It seems. I can't imagine who's going in there. It's all money laundering, I suppose. So drug money.
That was my. It's actually more depressing. That was my impression. And recently I was talking with one of those guys who actually goes there and kind of like an owner. He tells me, no, there's actually people are going. It's like the coffee place, but also you gamble. It's more depressing. It's not just money laundering. People are actually going there. They're usually like, they hire like pretty girls to bring in the crowd. Maybe they chat up the customers. But actually, it's becoming replacing the coffee place. It's not replacing the coffee place. The coffee places are ubiquitous, but it's more depressing that people are actually going there. And right next to it is usually like one of those fast credit joints. Like they give you like $200 credit, and you pawn your phone or your car for like 500 for 1,000. They give you like a loan shark. Interest rate, or even they will give you like an okay interest rate, but then they have like these collection fees which are like which are doubling the bill. Like every time they call you, you have to pay like €100 for them reminding you to pay back the money. So then you're hooked forever. Yeah, it's a complete disaster.
Yeah, it is sad. Well, we gotta talk about something positive here for a minute. Let me see what's on our list that we talked about beforehand. I see, absolutely nothing. Okay.
We have highways construction.
Yes. Who's benefiting off of that?
Yeah, exactly.
So, let's talk about Dewey. Well, kind of on the Albanian thing. Dewey. The divisions within Dewey continue. I saw this quote by Ahmeti, which I thought was interesting. He says, in response to the splits in Dewey, he says, our statute does not allow factions. Every action outside of the statute leads to anarchy. The most democratic option is for the minority to join the majority in its opinion. Otherwise, we will have anarchy in our party and everyone will do what he wants. Now, Stalin was also against factions within the Communist Party of the USSR. And they had interesting ways of dealing with factions. Under Beria, they just shot them. And a quick aside, I'm reminded of Beria's famous quote, kind of as it relates to what's going on with Donald Trump over here. I think Beria said, show me the man and I'll show you the crime. As opposed to the other way it should be under the rule of laws. You go after the crime, not the man. So anyway. So every action outside says, I love this. This is a fantastic quote from Ahmeti. The most democratic option is for the minority to join the majority in its opinion.
A party which has started a war and then dominated, hijacked politics on the count that they are a minority and they should be listened to and the majority should cave. And then to the point that the minority has the right to impose on the majority the national identity of the majority, which we are now discussing. This is the crux of the discussion with VMRO about the Croatian model.
Right. Yeah, that goes back to what we were talking about earlier. The negotiation is, you're the minority. You must join with us. When in terms of political power, but in actuality, in terms of Macedonia and the entire voting bloc, the majority of people are completely against this. And I would reckon there's a fair number of party members that would be against this as well, but none of that matters apparently. So, because this has been dictated from on high by the internationals and Citisa and the useless prime minister there.
Yeah, it'll just become stronger now with the Bechtel deal because practically we're giving 1.3 billion. That's like the opening bid from the public coffers.
Yeah.
They're projected to go like 250 million a year into this project. And, this was something that we kind of knew that the US wants us to sign this deal with Bechtel to give all the highway construction to Bechtel. So, and then VMRO might get, obviously, a fair hearing in Washington, which it never did. And once, we render unto Caesar a good portion of our GDP on a hugely inflated in price highway construction deal. And we went with the Chinese with a better offer, and then the State Department did a colored revolution on us. But theoretically, if we had spent this money through SDSM, which is still a nominally Macedonian party, they would be able, and they're not very happy about making concessions to the Bulgarians. Historically, they hate the Bulgarians, and they don't want to be seen as weaklings. Their party is crumbling because of this. So if they would spend all this money on such a deal, while on the other hand, Bulgaria is purchasing American fighter planes and then selling large quantities of diesel fuel and artillery shells to Ukraine, and in this way carrying American favors, but then SDSM would be able to balance out some of their demands by giving money to Bechtel. But instead of this, they're giving the money. They're so weak in their own government, they're paying the US, they're bribing the US diplomats through Dewey. Dewey is leading the contract with Bechtel, and Dewey will get all the political benefits. And it's the Dewey appointed foreign minister who gets meetings with Blinken and people like him in Washington. And it's not Kovachevsky or somebody from SDSM. And it will just benefit the cause of Greater Albania, which is already super strong in the US diplomatic circles. I mean, at the moment, I think Philip Ricker is working for the Albright Group, which, has business interests in Kosovo and has been favoring Kosovo.
Ricker is?
Against Serbia.
Is he out of the Foreign Service?
I think I saw it on... I'll edit this out if I'm wrong, but I think I saw him on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Stevenson, who was leading the Colored Revolution, is with the Tony Blair Group, another Albanian Kosovo War, patron. So we are completely without, we don't have access to the US. We're all the benefits that Macedonia should get from joining NATO and these deals and being on the good side of the West, they're collected by the Albanians here, and they're even harming the Macedonian cause even further. And it's being done with our own money. That's the... and now we have a bunch of laws put in Parliament on Monday through some urgent procedure. These include Bechtel won't pay any taxes, we will reimburse them for the taxes they pay on fuel. It's going to be, ridiculous. Every Albanian politician will be filling his gas tank through Bechtel after this. And they still haven't begun purchasing the land for the highways, and it goes mostly through Albanian neighborhoods, Albanian villages, Dewey dominated. So you can imagine they will be charging prices for what it costs to buy a square meter of an apartment in downtown Skopje. They will be charging this for a field in a village in the mountains somewhere in Kičo, usually worthless land. And the latest law is that if they run into some archeological sites, they don't have to go through the government, through the cultural institutions, the archaeological museum or whatever, to investigate how important this place is and should they go around it or can they plow through it. But the decision will be made by the engineer. So he'll say, it doesn't look that important. If it says this is part of Greater Albania, this is ancient Illyrian or Dardanian land, then it will be definitely it will be used for propaganda purposes and it will be protected. But if it says something Macedonians were here, they'll just bulldoze and asphalt it, and that will be the end of the site.
We should. You just remind me. I think we should do a separate podcast when maybe if things are calmed down, which is very rare in Macedonia. But we should do a separate. It'd be fun to do a separate podcast just on all of these internationals that have been involved and where they are now. I mean, I'm thinking of Peter Van Hoot. That's how I pronounce his name. Simon Filippini.
The Russian agent.
Yeah, the Russia. All the Americans. Who was the Waller Plump, the Dutch?
Wallers is fine. Wallers did.
No, not the U.S. Sorry, not the U.S. ambassador, the Dutch ambassador.
Yeah. He was he did the so practically he was with Ageler in Pakistan, and they did the coup in Pakistan after Pakistan sided with Russia at the start of the war, and now he's in Nigeria. I guess maybe some oil. Who would be... Well, actually, listen, Nigeria was a very important battlefield for the U.S. We had all these... what are their names? Not Susan Rice. What's this? The USAID director and all the suspects from the Colored Revolution, they were giving panicked statements about Nigeria, which had elections. So I'm pretty sure Plump was very involved in having a favorable outcome in the Nigerian election. But I think they failed. I think they elected like the old guard and not the new U.S. State Department, what we were even calling them approved candidate.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah.
So yeah, Plump is in Nigeria.
Okay.
After doing a coup in Pakistan with Ageler.
Yeah. Well, let's plan on that. So and kind of then switching maybe to something a little bit positive, or at least humorous. Gunther Fellinger, who is okay. So Gunther Fellinger is an Austrian. He lists on the Twitters under his Twitter's bio, Chairman Austria NGO Montenegro Goes Europe, and that's with a capital E, capital U, Europe. Association for EU Membership of Montenegro. Chair of Austrian Committee for NATO Enlargement for Kosovo, UKR, I guess that's Ukraine, BIH, Bosnia and Herzegovina. He is the most bizarre person I have ever seen amongst the internationals interfering in Macedonia. Now, what he didn't leave in his little bio, and which somebody pointed out on the Twitters, was that so the Macedonian Fund for Innovation and Technological Development, which was established hugely corrupt. But Gunther is on the board or the board of advisors or something. So, and he's got a larger bio on here, but he's a character now. He went after me, hammer and tongs, during the name change. Yeah, during the name change stuff. I think he asked for NATO to arrest me at one point or something like that. which I found humorous. I've never blocked him because I've never blocked him because I find him funny. But
I muted him for a while, but then I had to unmute him.
Yeah, I mean, I love his tweets where he's either frowning or smiling, selfie in front of whatever, and he says, "I call for fill in the blank," as if it's just kind of here's one, and he's a prolific tweeter. 1 hour ago, I pledged to fight for Ireland to join NATO now. It's just kind of. Here's one with smiling. I think. This is in Bucharest. Yeah, I can see that's the Ceausescu Palace. I call for immediate Schengen membership of Romania. So it's
no. He's. I think he's trolling us. I can't believe that. I mean, we've seen internationals completely out of touch, but I can't believe that he's that unself-aware and crazy. Essentially, I mean, this is all crazy. He had trouble. He became interesting. The current interest in him is that he tweeted that there was some girl that was killed during the NATO bombing of They lived in a village next to the large Serbian military airport near Belgrade. And there is a monument of the girl. And he goes from place to place and he takes a picture with all the flags of NATO and whatever country. And he says, I call that we remove this monument and we replace it with a monument, I think, to Madeleine Albright. And, you know, this is okay. Like, I mean, Serbia may be going on a path to reconciliation with the West if it gets all at once, like half of Bosnia, half of Macedonia, and sea access to Montenegro and a sliver of Kosovo and whatnot. But okay, this is a bit too much. And then he said, okay, yeah, okay, maybe it's, but listen, she was probably killed not by the NATO bombs, she was probably killed by the Serbian anti-aircraft gunners who shot at her house by mistake. This is the cope that, you know, the Russians do when they hit apartment building somewhere in Ukraine. They say, well, it was probably the Ukrainians were trying to hit our missile, which was going in the proper direction, and then they shot their own building, which is incredibly crass thing to say about the Ukrainians, right? Even though it may be true. In this case, I don't think it's true. It's been well documented, this war in Serbia. And then Serbs started going to his house in Vienna and started taking pictures. Okay, if you're coming to my house, I'll take a picture in front of your house and the place where he works out, etc. So he's calling the police. He's telling them, listen, I have Serbs sending me dick pics on... and then the Serbs were like, okay, do you recognize one, or like, do you want to take some time to examine the evidence about the culprits? So, and then he comes to Skopje. Apparently, he's still working for this hugely corrupt fund, which is rewarding SDSM party figures, which was until recently ran by a person who is like a very, like Shekarinska's guy, very involved in like the legacy of the communists, of the partisan fight. His grandfather was some partisan figure and then like a henchman in the Yugoslav military after the war. And he's reaping the benefits of this for decades now. And Gunter goes to a museum, poses in front of a picture of the partisan struggle and says, well, listen, this was no big deal, like it wasn't all that important. Actually, it was the West that that defeated Nazism, liberated the Balkans. It was the British support for the partisans that helped them, blah, blah, blah. And like essentially saying you should tone down the celebration of partisans. And, you know, obviously I was shitting on this guy on Twitter who is practically paying, he's in a different institution now, but he was paying Ginter's salary. But then somebody tells me, listen, oh, look, it's not the Museum of the Macedonian Struggle, which we all thought it was. Actually, our boy, who is Austrian, went to the Museum of the Holocaust in Skopje. And this is a mural of the partisans who joined the Jews from Macedonia, from Bitola, who joined the partisans. And it's the unit which had like 12 fighters, of whom 3 or 4 were Jewish. So this guy was actually shitting on the partisan struggle of the Jews of Macedonia. Again, he's Austrian. So I'm like, okay.
Wow.
Okay, that's interesting.
Wow.
And yeah, we're having a little fun with Gunter.
He's just, oh my gosh. I mean, if I go through it's a rabbit hole going through his Twitter feed. You know, it's just, he's got a, I'm just going through it now, and he's got a post. Oh, I just scrolled past it. Let me go. But I clicked it on because it was so bizarre. Hang on. Oh my gosh, it's just.
I may be in Vienna in a few weeks. I may pay him a visit. I don't know.
Oh, so he's retweeted Nikola Sandelovic, who is president of the Republican Party in Serbia, president of the Republican Union of
those.
And the tweet from
the 2 liberals in
Nikola
Serbia.
Sandelovic, who is Gabriel Escobar, angel or devil, protector and guarantor of freedom for Milo Djukanovic and Alexander Vucic. And it's a link to a page that from richtvx.com, which must be like Jones. What's the guy's character? what's the Jones character here in America? I forgot. Alex Jones.
Oh, okay.
It's-
Wait.
anyway.
Alex is
Infowars, right?
Infowars.
This richtvx.com. The title is Alexander Vucic stuns the world by actually stepping down. Alexander Vucic, shocking decision to step down, has left the world in disbelief. Gabriel Escobar, the mastermind behind the It's just bizarre.
Yeah, it's all crazy, but then he might be a Russian psyop.
Who, Gunther?
I mean, if I were Russian, this is what I would do. Yeah.
Okay.
It's actually just occurred to me.
Oh.
I mean, sometimes when I see something like this, like a product of too much drugs or whatever, but pushes all the buttons. I mean, it's a joke, obviously, by now that everybody is a Russian agent. I've been called a Russian agent, but it might be. I mean, it's so like LSD brain. Like you get like political experts in the Balkans on LSD and tell them come up with the craziest mix of stories. Somebody to annoy everybody and. I mean, I don't know.
Well, apparently he's got a podcast, Apple Podcast, PAX European, which, let's see, I just clicked on the link. If you do not have iTunes, download it for free. I don't have iTunes. I don't want to deal with it now. So, anyway.
Okay, we could do it for the next episode.
Yeah, so anyway. Okay. Well, this is a good way to kind of end on a lighter note with... We will continue to follow the exploits of Gunther Fellinger.
If you find comments about the Jews in Macedonia and made in the Holocaust Museum by an Austrian funny, this is a lighter
oh my goodness.
Of our podcast.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, let's plan on a podcast on kind of the international characters, including the entire list of Americans and others who have been in and through Macedonia that have demanded this, that, and the other. Like Matthew Palmer. Is Matthew Palmer still in the State Department?
I haven't checked
I don't
up
know.
on
I have to go back and look. I can't because I haven't. Sam, I think he kind of took over for Gabriel Escobar. Gabriel Orthodox People Escobar. So that's his nickname. So just like like Johannes Balkentaktik Tan. So.
Yeah, we have so many crazy characters here. Yeah, really should.
We should. Let's do that.
Should do like a whole podcast.
I'll start putting together a list and email you the list. You build on that, and then we'll split them up and do our research on them to figure out where they were. I forgot LinkedIn is a great resource for finding out what they're doing, and I'm gonna look at Phil. I'm an alien reader because he looks like one.
Yeah. And listen, guys, send us anonymous tweets, like if you want to be included, and we may forget somebody. So just please let us know you want to be involved. Like send me like a tip. Look at what this guy is doing, and you can do it for yourself in your own person, just like anonymously.
Definitely, yes, yeah. We'd like to know. Inquiring minds want to know. So.
I don't know what Bailey is up to. Yeah, that's right.
I did look him up on LinkedIn.
I think
he's on some board. I mean, it's like.
He was some desk job, but that's probably like I don't know. Is it a reward or is it like?
It's a continuing way to suck off of the American taxpayer teat. Is what it is. So just like Larry Butler.
Because I think he lives in an extremely expensive part of DC.
The burbs.
Burbs.
Or something. Yeah.
I
think his wife has money.
To do this just on like a stupid state. His sister, I think. Okay. But this is like he obviously got. He has the Albanian money, but I don't know. I don't know how.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, we'll do that.
Some of them will be on the board of Bechtel. Some of these guys, like the American ambassador to Kosovo after they signed the deal, he went on.
Yeah.
He was given a country by Bechtel to run an entire African country. You're the white.
Colonialist.
What was the title like? Pumbaa, yeah. They carry you on stretchers.
Exactly.
Through Madagascar. Oh God.
All right, this has been a good podcast. This will be fun. We'll get this up
Yeah,
and wrapped
I think
out,
so.
and we'll follow what's going on. And if nothing happens, the next podcast then will be on our cast of rogue characters in Macedonia or through Macedonia.
Yeah, and they really are characters.
Yeah, good. All right, Cvetin, good talking to you.
Okay, buddy. You too. Take care.